On your driving test, you will get one show me question and one tell me question. At the start of your driving test, you will get your tell me question. Now, all of these are available on the government's website, but the first tell me question is, tell me how you check the brakes are working for this vehicle before starting a journey. So the answer to that is your brakes shouldn't feel spongy or slack. They should be tested just as you set off, and the vehicle shouldn't pull to one side. Tell me where you'd find the recommended tyre pressures for this vehicle and how they should be checked. So your tyre pressures, that's going to be available in the manufacturer's guide, and they should be checked when the tyres are cold and with a reliable pressure gauge. You should also check your spare tyre and make sure that you refit the dust caps. Tell me how you check your head restraint is adjusted correctly so that it provides the best protection in the event of an accident. So with the head restraint, the rigid part should be at least as high as the top of your ears or your eyes, and it should be adjusted as close to the head as is comfortable when you're driving. Tell me how you check your tyres have sufficient tread depth and that their general condition is safe for use on the road. So your tyres should have 1.6 millimeters of tread depth across the central 3/4 of the breadth of the tyre and around the entire circumference of the tyre. You should also check the tyres to make sure that there are no cuts or bulges or any damage to the tyre. Tell me how you check the headlights are working for this vehicle. So all we'll do is come down to the switch that's near the right knee and turn them on. So it's just one click anti-clockwise. We'd then tell the examiner that we'd get out, walk around and check that all of the lights are working. Tell me how you'd know if there was a problem with the ABS system in this vehicle, so the anti-lock braking system. And with this, you would get a warning come up on the dash to tell you that it's not working correctly. So there'd be a warning light on the dash. Tell me how you check the directional indicators are working for this vehicle. So this is quite a simple check. You turn them on and walk around, have a look. Once you've checked one side, turn the other one on, and then you would get around and have a look at that as well. Tell me how you check the brake lights are working for this vehicle. So with this one, you would apply pressure on the brake and you look for a reflection behind you, either in other cars, windows, or you'd ask someone to help. Tell me how you'd know if the power assisted steering is working for this vehicle. Well, if when you're driving, the steering all of a sudden becomes heavy, this could be an indicator that there's an issue with the power steering. Alternatively, there are two checks that you can make before starting a journey to make sure that it's working. So the first one, gentle pressure applied on the steering wheel when the engine is started should result in a slight but noticeable move of the steering wheel as the system starts to operate. Alternatively, using the steering wheel as soon as you start driving will give you an immediate indication as to whether the power assisted steering is working or not. Tell me how you'd switch on the rear fog lights for this vehicle. So what we'd need to do first is turn on the lights, so that would just be one click anti-clockwise. And then we've got two buttons for the fog lights. The top one is the front fog lights, the bottom one is the rear fog lights. So we just push the button here. And the fog lights should be used when visibility is less than 100 meters. Tell me how you'd switch the dipped headlights to main beam and how you'd know the main beam is on. So we'd have to turn on our lights first, and then what we do is we push the indicator stick away from us. This then puts on the blue light on the dash to show us that the main beam is operating. Open the bonnet and tell me how you would check the engine has sufficient oil. So what we'd need to do is open the bonnet and then identify the dipstick. In this vehicle, it's the yellow ring that you can see. We would then pull that out, wipe it, identify the minimum and maximum marker, dip it back in, check that the oil level is between the minimum and maximum marker, and this should be done when the engine is cool. Open the bonnet and show me how you would check the engine has sufficient engine coolant. So we would identify where the engine coolant is, and from there we would identify the minimum and maximum markers and just make sure that the level is between those two markers. Open the bonnet and tell me how you check that you have a sufficient level of hydraulic brake fluid. So we'd identify the reservoir, and then we would point out the minimum and maximum markers and just make sure that it's between those two markers. So when it's safe to do so, show me how you would wash and clean the rear windscreen. So all we would do is come to the wiper stick here, and in this vehicle you need to push the stick away from you to clean the rear windscreen, and we need to make sure it's safe, so make sure your attention stays on the road and not on the wiper stick. When it's safe to do so, show me how you'd wash and clean the front windscreen. So we come to the wiper stick and pull it towards us. That's going to clean the front windscreen. Make sure your attention stays on the road and what's going on the road, and not looking down for the stick here. When it's safe to do so, show me how you would switch on your dipped headlights. So we'd come to the dial by our right knee, and it would just be one click anti-clockwise. With this, you need to make sure that you're not looking down to see what's going on, and that you stay looking at the road and remain safe throughout this question. When it's safe to do so, show me how you would set the rear demister. So we'd come down to the center console here, and one of the buttons has rear written on it. We would just push that button and that would turn on the rear demister. Again, making sure we're not looking down here too long, and we make sure that it's safe up on the road. When it's safe to do so, can you show me how you would operate the horn? So with this one, all we do, firm push on the center of the steering wheel, and that will operate the horn. When it's safe to do so, can you show me how you would demist the front windscreen? So we just come down to the center console here. You've got one that says max, that would switch everything on, and then you've got one just next to it with a picture of the front windscreen. We could push that one if we just wanted to demist the front windscreen, making sure that we're not spending too long looking down at the buttons and that we're aware of what's going on ahead of us. When it's safe to do so, show me how you would open and close your side window. So again, making sure we're aware of what's going on around us. Come to the switches on the door and just push the button down for the window to go down, pull the button up for the window to go back up.